Welcome all of you. We'll go ahead and get started on time to a really special evening tonight on tapping, emotional freedom technique with Maria Ortner. Maria Ortner is the global director of the Tapping Foundation. It's actually Dr. Maria Ortner's. She served as a school psychologist in Danbury, Connecticut, which is right down the road from where I am in Sandy Hook, for 27 years. Prior to beginning her work with the Tapping Solution Foundation, Dr. Ortner is committed to promoting tapping as an effective technique for teachers and students to deal with anxiety, stress, and trauma in the school setting and beyond. She holds degrees in clinical and school psychology, as well as a doctorate of education. She has extensive experience in education in the United States and abroad. And she is the director of the Tapping Solution Foundation and literally travels all over the world.
I used to travel.
Used to, well, you're still going to. Literally traveling all over the world, tapping with everyone. And she is a personal friend of mine who I love so much. Dr. Ortner, should we call you Dr. Ortner, Maria? What would you prefer?
Whatever you like.
Okay. Well,
to all.
Okay. So we'll say Dr. Ortner here, but we're just so, I know, I love you so much, and I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for being with us. My name is Scarlett Lewis, and I'm the founder of the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement. And tapping is really important to me in my life. And I knew about tapping before the Sandy Hook tragedy that took my 6-year-old son's life. In fact, I had done the summit, but I wasn't really committed. And Nick Ortner himself, the president of the Tapping Solution, and Dr. Ortner's son came to my house and personally tapped with me. And I felt instant relief in the worst circumstances of my life. When you would think it was impossible, I thought it was impossible. How do you find relief then from anything in any way? And I found it through tapping. And so I became a huge fan and advocate of tapping. In fact, shortly after my son's murder, I'm tapping on my couch. It was a different couch, but it was right here. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm tapping, I'm thinking, this is incredible for kids, because kids, and I was thinking, you know, in lieu of Sandy Hook, but also kids, they have so many feelings and a lot of them are difficult. And instead of, you know, trying to assuage themselves with something that's not good for them, they can tap anywhere. They can tap in their room. So I was so excited to include this in the Choose Love movement programming. And now tapping is weaved in to absolutely everything that we do and every single lesson. So I'm really happy to say that tapping is a big part of what we do. And today we have Dr. Ortner here with us to help us further deeper understand what tapping is, how it works. She's here to answer questions, and I will keep an eye on the chat box. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them there, and I will insert them into the dialogue that we have. But Dr. Ortner, just so great to see you here and to learn from you this evening.
Hi, everybody. I love seeing you guys, and the ones who have your camera off, just for a little bit, turn it on so I see, I connect this way. You know, it has been, and I really don't think it's an understatement, it has been a very difficult year for many of us because of the pandemic. And how many of you are parents? Raise your hand if you're a parent. Okay. And how many of you would maybe one day would like to be a parent? Raise your hand. Okay, got you. So my intention with you guys today is I will talk about tapping. That would be the main focus of my presentation, but I also would like to share other tools that some of you may be familiar or not, but I think as a parent or as a future parent, it's always good to kind of have a toolbox. And that is my intention today with this talk. And again, I would love to to do it as interactive as technology allowed us, because I truly miss the human contact. So even though I see you in a little screen, in little squares, I basically wish we could be in the same room. So how many of you realize that children don't come with instruction manual? Right? Yeah. So it is a trial and error, and sometimes we learn as we go in the journey of being a parent. And but I think we could agree that one thing we could wish is to help our kids to build resilience, to be stronger, because life has up and downs. And even though we want to protect them, and when they're little, we have more control, and as they grow up, we have less and less control. We want to protect our kids. But I think the best way to protect them is to build resiliency. So that's one thing that I think we have to, I hope we all agree upon. So the idea of this talk, because I would not even call it a presentation, because again, I would love to make it as interactive as possible, is for you to come up with ideas, okay? Talk is cheap. Actions speak louder. So my idea is to give you tips or little things that maybe you may want to try next week or anytime that you feel the need to use it. That's my intention again. But before that, as kind of laying the work of what I'm going to present to you, we as all here, we have to be conscious of that we are architects of our child belief system. And by that, I mean, I have a tree behind me, right? The beliefs are the roots of a tree. Sometimes we don't realize what belief we have. As we are growing up or when we were kids, our parents influence a lot of what we believe today. Sometimes that is crystal clear. Sometimes we don't even realize of it. So taking a little time to kind of self-reflect upon that will help you in your journey as parents. You know, working in the schools, talking to parents, I heard many times things like, well, I do this because my parents used to do this or that. So it's like we keep doing certain things as parents, not really assessing if it is the best avenue to pursue, but because our parents did to us and we somewhat survived, we thought, all right, we keep doing that. So maybe for you to think for, like, fortunately longer than 10 seconds, but in view of the presentation, for like a couple of seconds, what your parents used to do that you see today, kind of you doing the same, and sometimes not being fully conscious that you do that. Just I'm throwing some seeds of thought for the future. So, and that gave me the entry to talk about the importance of modeling and teaching, okay? And also, following that line of thought, the importance of being present, holding a space, helping our kids to process emotions. I don't know about you guys, but my own growing up, I didn't have that from my parents. That holding a space or helping kids processing emotions. You know, we tend to, if a kid comes crying to us, we tend to say, oh, you're okay, everything is fine, let me check if everything, maybe you are hurt, or, but we really don't sometimes hold the space for the kid to process that emotions. And one technique that I think is very, very useful, and I'm borrowing from Jack Canfield, is in those moments, as a parent, our tendency is to protect and to assure the kid and say, oh, you're okay. Trust me, many times is basically what you say first. That this particular technique is like, I would call it a sportcast narrator. The kid is crying because fell on the playground. And then you say, oh, you're very upset because you fell on the playground and you're crying because of that. You don't put any judgment in what you're saying. You're basically narrating the event. And you're giving the kid validation at that point. But you don't put any of your stuff in terms, you give the kid the space to process that particular event. I would suggest to try it. Could be difficult because, again, the first tendency is to protect and say, you're okay, don't worry about it, everything is fine. You could say that, but after you kind of narrate the event back to him, because also that will help you, because the kid, depending on the maturity level and age, could give you more information about whatever event took place that it was upsetting. So that's another thing. When you're kind of narrating without judgment the event that you perceive, you also give the kid the opportunity to clarify if that is what is bothering the kid. Because maybe the kid is not crying so much because he or she hurt his knee. Maybe it's something else. Okay, that's one little nugget that I wanted to share with you. And I would say, as a parent, one of the challenges is to find windows of opportunity. The techniques that I'm going to talk to you about, and as I mentioned to you before, I will dive deep into tapping, but I will also show you other things. When I have these questions from parents, when do I do that? And finding windows of opportunity, it is kind of critical. I don't know if any of one experienced this, but I experienced this as a parent when my kids was growing up, they were growing up, is that usually the kids do start talking about things that you really want to pay attention in the most inconvenient moments. Is when you're rushing from one place to the other, when you're back in the car. Those are windows of opportunities for them, but not necessarily for you. So those are some of the challenges as parents. But maybe in that moment, you could create another moment to say, hey, can we keep talking about this in like 10 minutes or 5 minutes? And again, time is a factor here because kids, they do live in the present. So the tomorrow or the planning, well, Saturday when we are all at home, it really doesn't fly for kids. You could postpone it, but very short windows of opportunity from that point of view. So what tools I was talking about? One is visualization. Are you familiar with visualization? Yeah. Well, your kids or the kids that you may work with, they are all different and they all have different ways to express themselves. So finding the way for your kid is as important as whatever way you choose. So how do you do visualization? Well, through leading questions, for you to be aware of the likes and dislikes. And, a simple exercise, again, depending on the maturity level and age level of the kid, is saying, all right, if you could have the perfect day, what would it be? And kind of build upon that with him or her, and add color and add textures, adding funny images, creating kind of a happy place. That particular technique, visualization, it takes a while at first, just building all the components of this experience that your kid is putting together, and you could have input too. You could make it funny, you could, again, you could put music into it, and you help your kid build it. And then you go back to it on that particular visualization, happy place. And then later on, as time goes on, you could say to your kid, oh, find your happy place. How about if we think about your happy place? And that would trigger all that previous work that you did with your kid in building it. Meditation is another thing that you could do with kids. Do you know, I didn't know until I would say maybe 10 years ago, that in Iowa, there is a school that teach meditation from kindergarten to graduation, that meditation is part of the curriculum. I didn't know. And I guess how I found out, I found out because Oprah have done a special on that, visiting the school and showing how you meditate. And I don't know, initially when I saw it, and thinking about little ones, I thought, how do you meditate with a 5-year-old, a bouncy 5-year-old? Sounds really good in theory, but in practice, how do you do it? Well, simple. It is a walking meditation. You just walk. They walk from place A to B within the school, silent, but silent and alert to the sounds. And then after that, they need to kind of report on the sounds. And I have to tell you, I did try. I was working at the schools at that point, and I did try it with kindergartens, to be precise, and they like it. They like it. Again, it's like a muscle you have to build upon, and you will have in a class of 25, one that would be jumping up and down and, would have a tough time doing it. But for the most part, the effect for the whole group was a sense of calm and presence, which, if you think about it, are the foundation of meditation. If you are interested in pursuing that, Emily Fletcher just came out with a program for meditation for kids with some cute ideas that some of them I will share with you. Breathing, that's another thing you could do. It's another tool. You could use it anywhere, anytime. We all need to breathe. But with kids, there are different ways to motivate a kid to breathe. And for example, one technique would be using a balloon, you know, plastic balloon. You inflate the balloon, and I put it on my tummy, and then I said to the kid, you know, when the balloon is going up away from my body, it means that I'm putting a lot of air in my body. And when I let it go, and you kind of press the balloon and let the air go, you also kind of mimic the movement of the body expelling all the air. Another really, really cute tip that you could use with kids, that again, this is also from Emily Fletcher, and it's really good. Basically saying, when you inhale, you are smelling delicious cookies. And when you exhale, you're blowing birthday candles. And you could exaggerate the motions, especially with little ones, and even teenagers could buy into it if they're in the mood. And kind of helping the kid to really do the action of inhaling and exhaling. And that, again, that's another little thing that you could do with the kids. Why it's so important? Because when you do it, you're really helping maximize the highway between your body and your brain. When you do the breathing, the deep breathing is kind of, you make it connect all together, and your body's helping you, sending that signals to your brain to start relaxing. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is, as another tool to use, is practicing gratitude. How you practice gratitude with kids. And again, is an exercise that you will get more benefits if you do it as a game, as something fun to do every day. I know many families, you know, at the end of the day when they share a meal, they would have those practices. And again, you could say, start with the things that you want to get rid of, thinking that those are rocks that we are going to hold tight, very, very, very tight in our hands, and we are going to throw away, and they will go away and become stars, not really being far away from us. And another thing to help relaxation with little ones, it would be making your face. This is kind of funny. Again, I'm targeting this more to younger kids. Making your face as a raisin, like really scrunchy and very, very tense. And then as a lion. And that movement, you engage all facial muscles on your face. And again, in a playful way, you help your kids to relax. These are some of the ideas that I wanted to share with you before getting into tapping. And this is another one that I love. And again, this is also, I'm borrowing from Jack Canfield, is, I don't know, I think all kids at one given point or another, they say, well, I can't do that. Either something that they don't believe they're capable of doing it, or something that you'd like them to do it, depending on the situation. But I can't could be a quite frequent thing that the kids could say. So have an I can't funeral. So you have your kids write all the I can't do math, I can run fast, I can have better grades, whatever it is that in a way is part of your kid belief system, or it's something that you hear your kids saying over and over, I can do this, I can do that. Write it all down. And then you have a little funeral in your backyard. You could dig a hole and put it all there, or you could burn it, and you could burn all the I can'ts and make it again as a playful way, but also meaningful way to kind of help your kid that you could change your thoughts. You could change your I can'ts for I can. Okay. And
Raina commented in the chat. She said, my 2-year-old says, that's too hard, Mom.
well, that again, you could put that's too hard, Mom, and have a little funeral on that. And I just wanted to show you something that I have a couple of pillows here in this room. And let me show you. Let me stand up first.
She's not actually in the forest, you all.
No, I'm not in the forest. Can you read this?
Thoughts become things. Choose the good ones.
Well, it's another way of telling you what I've been saying about the I can't.
Yes.
So, this is another thing that, again, I'm leaving you thinking about it. You cannot answer me now, or maybe you can when we start interacting a little bit. Think about what programs are you running as parents? What software you are using with your kids? Just for you to think, food for thought. So let's talk about tapping.
Maria, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Karen Clark is asking this question. She said, thank you for the variety of healthy practices. Shifting to older age group now, are you aware of research that supports benefits of tapping for teens and young adults struggling with addiction?
I'm not aware of a specific research being done. I'm aware of research that is being done in terms of the changes in the brain. Specifically, Dr. Stapleton in Australia is doing research on that, but with not targeted to addictions, not as specific as that. Also, Dr. Church in California has been doing research on tapping and basically on the changes in the levels of cortisol in blood before and after tapping. But specific research on addictions, no, I'm not aware of it.
Now, I know that for tapping, that the research has shown a 43% reduction in cortisol levels, which is
right.
Huge. And that's huge. Not even after too long. And I'm not aware of any research specifically related to addiction. Kyle, but we're going to look, and I will ask as well, Karen. That's a really good question, especially with our addiction rates continuing to climb. And Kyle asked, how can we learn more about, it says mediation, but I think it's meditation for children. How can we learn more about meditation for children?
As I shared with you, Emily Fletcher is an author and just published recently a program for that's basically the one that I'm most familiar with. I would say that also looking into mindful practices and gratitude practices, they're really all interrelated, honestly. Meditation is a big umbrella, but you probably are aware that you could meditate walking, that the old image of the meditation, sitting in a very uncomfortable position with the leg crossed and kind of being in a trance is evolving into being present in whatever circumstances you are, and kind of in present and in solitude many times, to kind of be aware of your environment. With kids, I would say the most simple way to start is in little periods of time. Again, depending on the chronological age. A 5-year-old, you cannot keep or sustain their attention more than 10 minutes. So I would say that would be the most. A 4 or 5 grader, a 9, 10-year-old, it could be half an hour. So you could kind of experiment with that. Again, it's not only age, but it's all maturity level to take into consideration, and developmental levels. You could have a 5-year-old very mature that could do certain things that other 5-year-olds cannot do.
You know what her book is called that's just coming out, Maria?
It's not a book, it's a program.
Okay.
So I
can't find it.
Kind of, I saw her stuff. I attended recently a biohacking conference, and I attended all virtual, of course, like everything else. And she shared that she was coming out with this program. I don't have the name of the program, but also she has a program for adults. As a matter of fact, she started with adults. This children program is something that she just came out with.
Okay, it's Ziva, and it's Ziva Kids.
Ziva Kids.
But
yes.
Thank you, Tanya. But the Instagram talks about recovery. Yeah. So anyway, that's what it's called. And somebody had asked about that.
Yeah, Ziva Kids, you remind me, that's the name. Ziva is her program, her main program for adults. She just came out with this program.
My apologies. I always go to Instagram because it's the youth and kids market. It's like Facebook is for us. But I'm speaking for myself personally, not all of us. But Instagram tends to speak to the youth, and TikTok is even the younger, under 21. But so that's why I went and checked on Instagram for you.
Okay. So, the other thing that you can do with your kids is affirmations. And basically, affirmation is a positive statement. When I work in the school, I had a beach ball with different colors, the beach ball that comes red and yellow and blue all around. And I would write affirmations on each color, okay? And so we would play a game, and then the kid who'd catch the ball, in this case, I was saying where the right thumb lands, in the whatever color, the kid has to read that affirmation out loud. And that was a way for me to use affirmation with kids. And that is an easy one. You could Google affirmation for kids and you will find tons of affirmations. And you could pick and choose what you think would work better for your kid. And one way for you to implement it is the post notice, post notes, the little squares that stick. You could write it there, and if you're preparing the lunch or your kid goes brings lunch to school, you just put it inside the lunch box. And that's another nice thing or nice practice that you could have with your kid. And also introducing him or her to positive thinking and affirmations. So,
and rewiring their brain. I'm a huge fan of positive affirmations. I had them on the mirror where the boys and I brushed our teeth. I had them on the refrigerator, their level. So when they opened the door, they could read the affirmations on the back door going outside. And these were just general affirmations. They were geared for all of us. But I think that they made a difference. I even had, the boys had bunk beds and one of them slept on the bottom, and I had positive affirmations glued to the top of his bunk bed because I am a huge believer in affirmations.
Me too. But let's talk about tapping. Yeah, ready to talk about tapping? I just wanted to give you not in depth ideas of other tools, but I'm going to be talking about things from this book and this book. And this particular book, I have a good surprise for you. The surprise is that you could get a free copy of the book with a link that we'll share with Scarlett. And you only need to pay the shipping and handling depending where you live, okay? This book, I've been using this book, and we have, at the Tapping Solution Foundation, we have a whole series of lessons that you could also look as parents, introducing this book and activities to follow up and reinforce this book. This book is the story of a girl who is being teased because she wants to be a scientist. And that's one character, and there are other characters. But in a playful way, you introduce the tapping points. And what I love about it, this book, Alex, my son, wrote it, and he has 3 kids. So he used not only the tapping points, but also images related to the tapping points. For example, this point is the lion point, and there are all different animals associated with the tapping points. I have a question first to ask you. Who is not familiar with tapping? So I could go really into the basics, or I could move a little bit ahead. Could you raise your hand, or maybe through the chat say, I never heard of it, because that would give me an idea where I need to start with.
Okay, well, Sarah is raising her hand, so she hasn't heard of it. So I think we should start with the basics. I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Karen has heard of it, but not tried it. So it's never a bad thing to kind of make sure that we have everything right. Raina's asking if you can use tapping with traumatic brain injury, and she's got a young one. How does that work?
Yeah, because tapping is a technique that is not invasive. When we're talking about tapping, I'm talking about putting some slight pressure on certain points. It's not like banging. So, and you could do it with kids. You could do it to your kid, or you could teach your kid how to do it. All right. There are basically this technique, without getting into the whole long history, started with Dr. Callahan in the mid-'80s. And he was a psychologist, and he discovered that there are meridians of energy in your body. And if you touch certain points, you will find relief. associated with talking about it, talking about your feelings and so forth. One student of Dr. Callahan, Gary Craig, studied a technique and figured out this is great, but it's really cumbersome because depending on the particular symptom, let's say, or state, let's say anxiety, you have one particular sequence that you have to follow. And if it's something else, you have to follow a different sequence. So you need a lot of training to do it. So he developed the emotional freedom technique. And the beauty of it is that it's simple. With kids, and I'm going to share this with you. Let's see if I could share the screen, and I will show you the points so you have some visuals to go along. Let me see. Share screen. Let me go here. Let me go here. Share. Okay, can you see this? Can you see these two figures?
We
Yes?
can. Yes, we can.
Perfect. So this first one that I'm circling here are for younger kids. You have 5 points. For older kids, you introduce the whole sequence, even the sequence that you use with adults. And basically you have that visual here. You always start at the side of your hand that is called the karate chop point. And you tap there. Then you go on your eyebrow, and you could follow me along just to get a sense on your own body. Where is it? Okay. At the beginning of your eyebrow, you feel it on your bone. Okay. And you tap there. Then you kind of follow your eyebrow and go to the side of the eye. And then you tap there. Then you continue again on the bone, and you tap under your eye. Then you do it under your nose, and under your mouth. Then you do it on your collarbone spot. And it's basically, if you feel your collarbone is like an inch down, an inch out. And when you tap there very frequently, it's kind of a sore spot. You could feel it a little bit, feel some discomfort there. Then the next point is under your arm. If you're a woman, more or less in the middle of the bra, the side of the bra. And on top of your head. These are the 9 points, okay? For children, basically, we, as I shared before, and I don't want to get into the whole story, but you go into, for example, okay, let's see this one here. For example, this point, you say that is the wolf chin point, this one. And with kids, you tell them many times, you, oh, like a wolf. Sometimes you use language also besides the image and besides the point. I have to tell you, this is a funny story. I was working in Guatemala, and the grown-ups like it better when we use the animals and the motions, okay? For example, the point on the collarbone, we say, you thump like a gorilla, okay? And you could use your whole hand sometimes when you're not sure, and kids sometimes are not sure of the point, to use that point. This particular point is a very good one. And many people like this point. And again, those are the points. And when you do that, when you stimulate those points, you send a calming signal to the amygdala in your brain. And basically what it is, the amygdala is, this is the book that you all could get at the end of the presentation. That is geared for kids, elementary kids mainly, but I have to tell you, grown-ups like it too, and I think teenagers also could buy into it, and so forth. And I lost my train of thought. Where I was, Scarlett?
You think the kids love the book, and I can personally attest that they do, but you think that even teens could use it as well. I agree, because I think the kids, the characters they're a little bit ageless there, and it is a great book.
It is a great book because, again, you could learn the tapping points, and your kids could learn the tapping points, but associating images and sound and the location, the certain locations in your body, is like, in terms of learning, the point is much easier to do it that way. So the other thing you could do, and I brought a friend to help me with this, is when you are with your kids, is to use a stuffed animal. And I'm sure if you have kids, you have stuffed animals in your home, I'm sure. So what you can do is, with your kid, is put like a sticker on the different points on the animal, okay? Under the nose, under the mouth, under the arm, on top of your head. And that's another way for the kids to learn the points.
Maria, I think there's some people here saying that you were saying something about the amygdala. Were you talking about? Okay, can you repeat what you were saying about the amygdala?
Yeah.
Tapping sends a message to the amygdala?
Yes. Tapping sends a common message to the amygdala. Okay. Basically, the amygdala is the part of the brain, and I do have a graphic, but it's in another presentation, and it will take me a while to get it. The amygdala has the shape of an almond and is in the brain. And basically, that's what gets activated in the brain when you perceive that you are in danger, okay? It's the fight or flight response within the brain. What happened now, and initially, many years ago, we were brainwired to respond to actual dangers. The prehistoric man needed to survive, and if a big animal was coming his way, he needed either to run, fight, or freeze, or play dead, okay? And that part of the brain is survival. So, but unfortunately in our society today, we do perceive things that happen to us as danger, and that's the part that gets activated. When someone puts your kid down, or is mean, or teases, that's one area of the brain that gets activated. So tapping helps to regulate that area and produce a relaxation response. One thing that is quite common, is that when you tap, and you will see it with kids, they start yawning. Even grown-ups, they start yawning. And that's part of the relaxation response. It's not that it's not working, it's basically that your body is relaxing. So let's see. Yeah, this is me. I want to share this with you. In Guatemala, teaching tapping to first graders in a school in Guatemala. And again, you do it as a game using the book, and the kids laugh. And the kids are so much easier to use tapping, I have to tell you, I told you in a little bit my own experience. I'm a psychologist, I work as a psychologist. The first time I heard about tapping, I said, you must be kidding me. What is that? It looks different. It looks weird. You want me to do what? And it took me a while, but then I started seeing the results, not only with myself, but with testimonial, and now with a lot of research coming out in terms of how effective is tapping, and such a valuable tool to have. But I don't know how we're doing. Ooh, I want to do a little tapping session, but I want to do it specifically with some of the participants. So some of the concerns or challenges, if anyone wants to share, nothing huge, please, because we cannot do it in this format if something huge, but something that we could all relate. Maybe it could be feeling overwhelmed as a parent sometimes, or because of the pandemic, feeling that all of a sudden you're a parent, a teacher, a disciplinarian, you're wearing so many hats that you're definitely tired. Tell me, give me some ideas of something, and we could do all a tapping, mini tapping session. That way you experience the power of tapping. This is open to everybody. Please participate so it will be meaningful to you. Is it overwhelmed sometimes? Is it feeling tired? Is it feeling that you wear too many hats? What is it as a parent that sometimes is challenging? And sometimes you get to the end of the day and you say, oh my goodness, how do I do this all over again tomorrow?
I will say anything regarding disciplining a child is always difficult. It doesn't feel right, but sometimes it's necessary.
Okay. Okay, that's perfect.
And
So
someone else is saying overwhelm.
okay.
Could we incorporate maybe the discipline, the overwhelm, and maybe even anxiety, since there's such a large amount of anxiety in the world today? Just throwing that out there.
Okay. Can I ask you, Scarlett, because I really don't know how to do it, if we could see all the participants? I know I'm taking the main spot, but
You can see them if you put yourself in gallery view. Do you know how to do that?
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Yes, I know how to do that. Gallery, perfect. Yeah, I got it. Okay.
I'm going to do that too.
I'm still learning about this modality of interacting and zooming in, zooming out. So first of all, are you all in? Do you want to do it? All right. The people who doesn't have the cameras on, do you want to do it? Okay. So
Betsy and Jan, you guys want to do it? And Shreya, I mean, it's kind of, it's an energy thing when we have our cameras on, I feel like.
So always try to give a number of what you're feeling. Let's say if it is overwhelmed, or if it is being tired, or is it becoming a disciplinarian, from 0 to something that you don't really care about, is not an issue, to 10, which it is something that is intense. You give yourself a number. There is no wrong or right way to do it. It's just your own assessment, your own reflection upon what you're feeling when you're thinking, I'm a parent. Okay. And sometimes I feel overwhelmed. Sometimes I feel very tired. Sometimes I hate being a disciplinarian. Okay, what number do I give myself? When you have your number, just raise your hand. So I know we are all together in the exercise. If you're not a parent, think about a situation where you could feel overwhelmed, tired, and give it a number. I'll try to make it as general as possible so everybody could kind of relate to it. But again, this presentation was more geared to parents. But if you were a parent, if you feel those feelings, what number would you give it? Are we all in the same page? Yeah? Okay. We start taking deep breath. And remember, we could practice now what I showed you before. Inhale like you're smelling delicious cookies. And exhale like you're blowing 100 candles. So now we start at the side of our hand, the karate chop point, and we tap there. And either I want you to repeat after me, either out loud or in your mind. It's up to you, okay? Even though I feel so tired sometimes and overwhelmed about being a parent. I don't hear anyone. I hope you repeat it in your mind. I accept all my feelings. Even though there are days that I don't know how to manage, I love and accept myself. Even though sometimes I feel so overwhelmed about this job of being a parent, I accept all these feelings. You start on the eyebrow, and again. My kids didn't come with an instruction manual. At the side of the eye. And sometimes it's so hard to figure them out. Under the eye. I feel so overwhelmed at times. I don't know if what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing. Under your nose. I want to be a good parent, but I feel very overwhelmed at times. Under your mouth. I know I need to set boundaries and limits, but I hate being a disciplinarian. On your collarbone. I don't want to be the bad guy. I want my kids to love me. But it's difficult to keep that balance. And there they are. It is really a tough job. And it never ends. It is a tough job. And it's a lifelong assignment. On your eyebrow. But I know that just being here today, it means that I want to do better and better. At the side of the eye. I want to learn and practice new things that help me in this journey as a parent. So I'm choosing to learn and to use things when I'm overwhelmed. Maybe I could try myself first, some of the tools that we talk about today. And that will provide me relief when I need it. And also maybe if my kids see me doing it, they will be more open to do it, whatever I choose to do. Because I know they're looking all the time. And I know I'm really important to them, even though sometimes they don't show it. So I'm choosing to learn and evolve as a parent. In every way, every day, to become the best version of me. Take a deep breath. So I would love to reflect for a minute and think about the number you gave yourself at first and give it a number now and how you feel. And I would love to hear from you. How did you experience this?
Does anybody want to share?
I will share.
Great.
I don't know if you initially asked what our number was. Was that your first question? Or is that not important? But during the tapping, I felt like I was gonna cry. Like it was like I wanted to cry, but I didn't because we're on camera. But also like I feel like tingly inside. I kind of feel like maybe I drank a beer or something. Like I feel a little like relaxed. It feels really good. Thank you.
Cool, cool. You know, as I shared with you before, some people start yawning when doing tapping, and we just did one round of tapping. Okay. One thing I wanted to share with you as we continue, but I don't want to forget, is that we do have, let me share this again, the screen. We do have a tapping app that is free. If you go to the Apple Store, or if you don't have Apple, the other version, you enter the Tapping Solution app. It's a free app, and basically it guides you through the exercise that I just did with you. And there are a variety of topics that you can choose from that I'm sure you will find one that would kind of suit your specific feelings at the time. And when you do tapping, it's basically you do an exercise that help you self-regulate. It's not that the problems go away, okay? We don't claim that. We claim that after doing tapping, you are in a state that you're better equipped to deal with whatever you have to deal. And that's the beauty of tapping. And you find relief many, many times in a variety of issues. Again, but I wanted to keep listening to your own experience. It is sometimes other feelings come up. What you think you're tapping, what do you think is the issue? All of a sudden, through tapping, you kind of start feeling something else. And that's, again, completely normal. Questions? Feedback?
I will send you the link, Reina. I understand you have to get your kids. Yep, you got it. Thank you so much for coming. And so there's a question about scripting for older kids.
We do at the Tapping Solution website, there is a book for teenagers that you could use as a resource. In general, I would say what I found and in my practice is much more effective to use the words that the kid is using, the language that the kid is using. I don't know if you noticed, when we start at the karate shop point, I had a kind of a negative statement, this and this and this is happening to me, and then a positive statement. And that's basically how you start any kind of sequence of tapping. With kids, the language is somewhat different, depending again, maturity level and language. But even if they don't have the language, even if they don't want to say anything, because that happens too, just going through the points and breathing is going to provide relief. It's more effective when you also use words of whatever is happening. But as I shared with you before, answering that question, at the Tapping Solution website, there is a library of resources there that you could look into it.
And the other thing I want to say is that the Tapping Solution wrote a program specifically for Choose Love, and that is on our site in its entirety for all ages. And the need was so great. We had been calling it an extension program, but we just melded it in with everything that we do. But we do still also have that extension tapping program. So that's a lot of great stuff for kids as well. And then the TAP site, tapping solution is it .org or .com?
The foundation is the Tapping Solution Foundation.
Yeah.
If you kind of enter the Tapping Solution Foundation. Oh, another thing I forgot to share with you. If you go to YouTube, let's say that you don't remember certain things that I talked to you about, but you would love to show it to your kid. We have in YouTube, again, you type the Tapping Solution Foundation. We have a series of videos done initially with the purpose for teachers to use tapping in the classroom, and they do, but also could be used for parents. And the first one, when you introduce the tapping points to kid, is a really cute one because we have the graphic, we have the sound, so it's very engaging for kids. So that's one resource that you could use tomorrow if you want to. YouTube, Tapping Solution Foundation, and the first one, Introduction to Tapping, and you will see it. And it's a short one. It's like, I don't know, 9 minutes.
And I'm crazy about the app because you can go on the app and you can look for whatever you're feeling. It doesn't matter. You will find it, and you will be able to have a series of tapping for different time frames, and that you will be able to follow. And literally it guides you with the numbers. First of all, you press 1 to 10, however you come in feeling. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm a 7. And then it starts you through the whole tapping sequence, and then you rate yourself again, and it keeps track. And I think it's great. So I highly suggest people check that out. There was another question, Maria, about offering materials in Spanish.
We do. As you can tell, I speak Spanish. That's my first language. So that's my accent comes from there. I developed that whole set of materials in Spanish. Yes, in the foundation website, you could download it for free in Spanish.
Oh, excellent. That's great. Thank you. Do we have any more questions? Well, that was amazing, Maria. I think that I'm pretty sure that everybody is leaving feeling better than they came in. That's for sure. And I know that I am, and with a little bit more understanding of how to handle the little wild animals that are our kids. Just kidding. Our precious kids and ourselves. I mean, I always say we're just big kids. And when I talk to kids in classrooms, I say, you know what? A lot of us have the same issues that you guys are dealing with. We're just dealing with them in bigger bodies. So the great thing is that tapping can be used, and you can even tap on someone as well.
That's true. I have done it. I remember having a kid having a meltdown in school and tapping. I started tapping on top of his head because that he was kind of crunching and like, leave me alone, and a full-blown crisis that, you know, they usually call the school psychologist when it's at that point. So I remember using it, and it definitely works. It helps a great deal. So my advice to you guys is just give it a try, as well as the other things that we talk about it. You know, there is a variety of things. I really love tapping, and I've seen it over and over and over how effective it is with kids. And with adults too, but kids are more open to just try it. We adults, we get into the being conscious, but the beauty too is that now tapping has become so much mainstream that I've seen people tapping at airports, because I don't know if you know, but the fear of flying is a very common fear among humans. So there are people that need to use tapping before boarding a plane.
Yeah, that's, and Pam saying she does it on her dog. So tapping's certainly for everybody. So thank you so much, Dr. Ortner. We're so thankful for you tonight and all that you've taught us. And thanks everybody for coming. We appreciate that. Love to see these familiar faces. I love all of you. Thanks for being on this journey with me. And check out the rest of the events that we have this month for Jesse's birthday month, culminating on June 30th in a huge celebration. I hope that we see all of you there. I know that there are some beautiful faces. Michelle Greenwall is here, and she has incredible events that she's been doing throughout the month, and several of you have been on them. I know tomorrow we have Tai Chi at noon. If you guys can join, it is awesome. It's amazing. It looks like Carol's going to be there. And so we only have a few more days. So let's try to cram all this fun in as much as we can. That's why we're here, right? As human beings. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for choosing love.
Bye.
Bye.